There are some who'd say that white people can't be shamans, that shamanism is something that only exists in indigenous culture. That is not true, and I'm going to tell you why. Shamanism emerges out of a culture that it is meant to serve. There's a mechanism at work where the conditions of a culture give rise to a particular expression of shamanism. And that particular expression of shamanism is tailored specifically to treat the soul needs of that culture. So if a particular culture has a particular sort of problem, the shamanism that will emerge to address that problem will be specific to that problem. So shamanism arises out of the culture it is meant to serve. So we in the 21st century of Western civilization have a particular problem with our culture. Our shamanic impulse has been suppressed on the one hand centuries ago, and on the other hand, it has emerged in a corrupted fashion in the form of corrupted occultism. So the shamanism of Western civilization's 21st century needs to address these two needs. It needs to retrieve what has been lost, and it needs to redeem what has been corrupted. Shamanism naturally emerges in any culture because it arises to meet the inherent needs of a culture. If you put 100 humans, even a random sample of 100 humans, in a closed society, at least one of those humans will spontaneously manifest a shamanic calling, a shamanic function. They will fill the role of the shaman in that microcosm of a culture. They will start helping those other 99 people the way that a shaman works in a culture. So shamanism is something that is in the collective unconscious. It's an archetype of the collective unconscious. It spontaneously emerges. It is innate in humanity. It is not the privilege of indigenous peoples. It's something that arises in all cultures throughout all periods of time. Now, the question is then why in the West do we not have a shamanic tradition? Well, in order to understand that, you have to understand the esoteric history of the West. We had a thriving shamanic impulse for thousands of years in Greek civilization in the mystery schools. The Eleusinian mysteries were a psychedelic initiation school where people went through a death and rebirth experience and they were initiated into the mysteries of the spiritual world. This was the way that the shamanic impulse was manifesting itself in ancient Greece. And even the first 200 years of Christianity were initially more shamanic. They involved entheogenic initiations. Early Christianity was entheogenic until it was suppressed by the Roman Church and became what we know today as churchianity, or the Roman Church. If you understand Western history, you can understand that the shamanic impulse in Western civilization was brutally attacked, suppressed, subjected to genocidal murder. It was suppressed on purpose. But because the shamanic impulse is so inherent in human culture, it spontaneously emerges, so it found different ways to emerge. In the medieval era, when it was being suppressed from the church, it emerged through visionary art. And there's many examples in Christian art of the shamanic impulse surfacing in a very secretive sort of way. But it will always find a way to emerge. In the Renaissance, it emerges in the form of occultism, in the form of secret societies. However, it wasn't long until this impulse was corrupted, until it was used in a corrupted way, until it became corrupted by black magic. But still, the impulse continued because it cannot be suppressed. It can be corrupted, but it cannot be suppressed. So, yes, white people can be shamans because shamanism emerges out of the culture that it is meant to serve. There's a mechanism at work where the conditions of a culture give rise to a particular expression of shamanism. And that particular expression of shamanism is tailored specifically to treat the soul needs of that culture. So if a particular culture has a particular sort of problem, the shamanism that will emerge to address that problem will be specific to that problem. So shamanism arises out of the culture it is meant to serve. So we in the 21st century of Western civilization have a particular problem with our culture. Our shamanic impulse has been suppressed on the one hand centuries ago, and on the other hand, it has emerged in a corrupted fashion in the form of corrupted occultism. So the shamanism of Western civilization's 21st century needs to address these two needs. It needs to retrieve what has been lost, and it needs to redeem what has been corrupted. So the shamanism of the future of Western civilization, of white people like me becoming shamans, they need to specialize in retrieving the lost and suppressed knowledge on the one hand, and redeeming the corrupted occult knowledge on the other. And that is what is required of Westerners going forward. Westerners who feel an innate shamanic call that is spontaneously emerging. There are many people in the world right now that are feeling a genuine shamanic call. People in every civilization of the world are feeling real shamanic call, not just people in indigenous tribes with unbroken lineages of shamanism. Human beings all over the world are having shamanic initiation crises. They're having calls to be initiated into some sort of heretofore unseen shamanism. Shamanism is evolving in the 21st century to arise to meet the needs of the spiritual crisis we are facing. Shamanism arises out of crisis, and it arises in a very specific way to address the specific needs of a specific culture. So for those who say that Westerners can't be shamans, that is just plain ignorant, that doesn't understand the archetypal, universal nature of shamanism and how it needs to arise out of a specific culture to address the spiritual, psychological needs of that culture. So we are now living at the beginning of a new type of shamanism, 21st century Western shamanism, that addresses the needs of Western civilization. On the one hand, we need to retrieve our lost and suppressed knowledge that started to be suppressed over 1700 years ago. And on the other hand, we need to rescue what knowledge did survive in the secret societies but became corrupted. We are living in a civilization where our shamanic impulse is being used in a corrupted way. We are essentially living in a civilization that is being run by evil shamans. So, people like me, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, Westerners, who are feeling a call to be initiated, spiritually initiated. You are being called to form the ranks of a new type of shamanism for the 21st century that needs to be able to address our history and our present situation. And the real spiritual battle that we are facing today, we are being confronted with terrible and unbelievably sophisticated sorcery and black magic at many, many levels. So the initiation for the 21st century Western shaman needs to be able to cope with that, needs to be able to find solutions to that, needs to be able to work in that atmosphere, in that environment. So yes, there can be Western shamans. Yes, white people can be shamans. I'm one of them. But we need elderhood. Another unique situation that we're facing is that we do not have an unbroken chain of elderhood. So what has happened is that the previous generation, people a little older than me, have been called on a shamanic journey. They've been trailblazing a new form of shamanism, and now they have come back to share it. I went on a similar journey myself. In 1999, I had a shamanic calling. It took me years to understand that's what it was, because I was stuck in a materialistic model. I was diagnosing myself with the chemical imbalances in my brain. It took me a while to realize it was a shamanic calling that I was experiencing, but when I finally realized that's what was happening, I did everything I could to initiate, to train. I ended up going to the Amazon. I ended up finally moving to Peru. I now live in Peru. I'm now working as a shaman. I'm now offering services as a shaman. If you look in the links in the description below, you can find some of the things I offer. But there's a whole new generation of people that are just ahead of you that have gone on this journey to reclaim a kind of Western shamanism, and they're acting as Western shamans, and they now have the task of helping you because your calling has arrived, you're looking for guidance, and you need to find guidance within your own civilization because some indigenous shaman is not going to be suited to help you because your calling is arriving in Western civilization as a result of the sicknesses of Western civilization. And your initiation needs to prepare you to be a shamanic individual in your own civilization. So you need guidance and elderhood from other members of your civilization, of your culture. People like me and others like me. So in the links below in the description, you can find the resources that I'm offering. And there's other resources out there, but this is what I'm offering. Because I'm passionate about my mission, I'm passionate about my work. I am here to help other Westerners who are feeling the call of initiation. I am here to help guide other Westerners to go through their initiation process and to form the new ranks of a new sort of shaman, a Western 21st century shaman. It's a new breed. Yes, it's a new breed, and it is very important. This new breed is the only hope we have. So look in the description below if you're vibing with me, if you want to see what I'm offering. But you need to find guidance because the initiation process is dangerous, it's difficult, it's very hard to navigate on your own. So reach out. You're on YouTube, you're looking for resources, you found me. If you resonate with me, look at my offerings. Maybe we'll end up working together. Good luck.